The History of Space Exploration, From Apollo to Artemis. Written and published by Ciro Irmici. Feel free to subscribe for more content. Now let's get into the book. Introduction. An overview of space exploration, why we look to the stars. For as long as humanity has existed, we have been fascinated by the night sky. From ancient civilizations using the stars to navigate oceans to modern-day space programs sending astronauts beyond Earth's atmosphere, space exploration has always captivated our imagination. The desire to explore what lies beyond our world reflects something deeply human, our relentless curiosity and need to push the boundaries of the unknown. Space exploration is more than just a series of scientific missions. It is a testament to human ingenuity and determination. The history of space exploration is filled with moments of triumph and tragedy, innovation and perseverance. It has reshaped our understanding of the universe and our place within it. The challenges of sending people and machines into space have pushed us to develop technologies and knowledge that have shaped other fields, from medicine to environmental science. This journey begins with the first hesitant steps of the space race in the 20th century, driven by geopolitical competition between world superpowers. It progresses through the awe-inspiring Apollo missions, when humanity first set foot on the moon, a feat that expanded our vision of what is possible. The shuttle era followed, promising a more sustainable way of living and working in space, while collaboration between nations resulted in the International Space Station, a symbol of what we can achieve when we work together across borders. In recent decades, space exploration has entered a new phase, driven by both governmental agencies and private companies. Ambitious missions like NASA's Artemis program aim to return humans to the moon and eventually take us to Mars. Meanwhile, companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin are opening new frontiers, transforming space travel from an exclusive government venture into a commercial endeavor that might one day make space accessible to ordinary people. Yet, space exploration is not just about grand missions to the moon or Mars. It is about understanding the very forces that shape our universe, and how we can use this knowledge to improve life on Earth. Satellites monitor the health of our planet, spacecraft probe the distant corners of our solar system, and space telescopes reveal the secrets of the cosmos. In this book, we will journey through the rich history of space exploration, from the early Apollo missions to the upcoming Artemis program. Along the way we'll explore the breakthroughs, the setbacks, and the human stories behind the quest to explore space. As we look back on the achievements of the past and consider the exciting possibilities of the future, one thing becomes clear: the desire to explore space is deeply ingrained in the human spirit. And as long as there are new frontiers to explore, we will continue looking to the stars. Chapter 1: The Dawn of Space Exploration. From the space race to the first human in orbit. The story of space exploration begins in the heat of competition, a race that would not only change our understanding of the cosmos but also reshape the world on the ground. The Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union provided the backdrop for the earliest efforts to reach beyond Earth. What started as a battle for political dominance and military supremacy soon blossomed into one of humanity's greatest achievements, leaving our planet and exploring the infinite expanse of space. The first steps towards the stars. At the end of World War II, the world's focus shifted from global conflict to technological advancement. Rocket technology had already been developed during the war, most notably in Nazi Germany with the V-2 rocket, the first long-range guided ballistic missile. After the war, both the United States and the Soviet Union captured German scientists and engineers, recognizing the potential of rockets for military purposes and, more excitingly, for reaching space. The idea of space travel had fascinated thinkers and dreamers for centuries, but it was in the 20th century that it became scientifically plausible. Scientists like Konstantin Tsiolkovsky in Russia had already laid the theoretical groundwork for space exploration, proposing that liquid-fueled rockets could escape Earth's gravity. These ideas, once relegated to the realm of science fiction, were now being taken seriously by governments with the resources to make them a reality. In the early 1950s, the Cold War intensified, and both superpowers recognized the strategic value of space. The Soviet Union and the United States began to invest heavily in rocket technology. For the United States, this meant developing military capabilities to match the Soviets, For the Soviet Union, it was a chance to demonstrate their technological prowess to the world. What neither superpower realized was that this military rivalry would spark a race to achieve what had once been deemed impossible: human spaceflight. Sputnik, the beginning of the space race. The space race officially began on October 4, 1957, when the Soviet Union shocked the world by launching Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite, into orbit. The small, spherical satellite emitted radio pulses that could be heard by anyone with a radio receiver, a stark reminder of Soviet technological achievement. It was a moment of triumph for the Soviet Union and a moment of deep anxiety for the United States. If the Soviets could launch a satellite into space, what was stopping them from launching missiles? The launch of Sputnik triggered a wave of panic in the United States, leading to significant investments in education, science, and technology. President Dwight D. Eisenhower responded by creating the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. In 1958, an agency dedicated to civilian space exploration. The United States, embarrassed by its initial failure to match the Soviets, was now determined to lead the way in space. However, the Soviet Union wasn't finished. In November 1957 they launched Sputnik 2, this time carrying a living passenger. Laika, a dog that became the first animal to orbit the Earth. While Laika's journey was one way, she did not survive the flight. It marked a significant leap in space exploration. It demonstrated that living organisms could endure space travel, laying the groundwork for human missions. Yuri Gagarin, the first human in space. The Soviets had already scored 2 major victories in space, but their most groundbreaking achievement was still to come. On April 12, 1961, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human to travel into space and orbit the Earth aboard Vostok 1. His flight lasted just 108 minutes, but its impact was monumental. Gagarin's successful mission made him an international hero and cemented the Soviet Union's lead in the space race. Gagarin's words during the flight, "I see Earth. It is so beautiful," echoed across the globe. His mission wasn't just a technological triumph, it was a deeply symbolic one. The sight of a human being floating above the Earth marked a new era for humanity. We had left the confines of our planet for the first time in history, and the possibilities seemed endless. The United States, still reeling from the Soviets' continued successes, quickly regrouped. In response, President John F. Kennedy made one of the most audacious declarations in history. In a speech to Congress in May 1961, Kennedy vowed that the United States would land a man on the moon before the end of the decade. This was no small challenge, as the U.S. had yet to even send a human into orbit. But Kennedy's bold vision energized the nation, and NASA's efforts were turbocharged. Project Mercury, America's first human spaceflight program. While the Soviets celebrated Gagarin's flight, NASA was racing to catch up. The first step was Project Mercury, America's first human spaceflight program. The goal was simple but daunting: to send an American astronaut into space and return them safely. After several test flights, including those with primates, NASA finally achieved its first major milestone. On May 5, 1961, Alan Shepard became the first American in space aboard Freedom 7. His mission, though short compared to Gagarin's, demonstrated that the United States could indeed send humans into space. Shepard's suborbital flight lasted just 15 minutes, but it was a crucial moment in the space race. NASA had proven its capability, and the world watched as the United States began to close the gap with the Soviets. A year later, NASA achieved another milestone when John Glenn became the first American to orbit the Earth in Friendship 7. Glenn's 3 orbits around the planet in February 1962 further bolstered American confidence. It was now clear that the space race was heating up, and the next major goal, landing a man on the moon, seemed within reach. The geopolitical stakes of the space race. The competition between the Soviet Union and the United States in space was about more than just technological achievement, it was about national pride, global influence, and military power. Both nations sought to demonstrate their superiority, not just to each other but to the world. The space race was a public relations battle, with each new achievement broadcast worldwide as proof of a nation's dominance in science, technology, and military might. But beyond the politics, space exploration had captured the imaginations of people everywhere. For the first time, humanity had begun to step beyond the boundaries of Earth, and the question shifted from if we could explore space to how far we could go. The space race had inspired a new generation of scientists, engineers, and dreamers, eager to push the limits of human achievement. The end of the beginning. The early years of space exploration were marked by rapid technological advancements and fierce competition between two superpowers. From Sputnik to Gagarin, from Shepard to Glenn, these first steps into space set the stage for what would become humanity's most ambitious journey, the quest to land on the moon. Yet, these early missions were more than just a race to claim superiority. They were the first steps in a much larger story, one that would continue to unfold as humanity's curiosity about the universe expanded. The space race laid the foundation for future exploration, sparking innovations that would lead to even greater achievements in the years to come. And while the competition between the United States and the Soviet Union drove the early years of space exploration, it would ultimately pave the way for international collaboration and a shared vision of humanity's future in space. Chapter 2: The Apollo Missions. The Journey to the Moon and the Legacy of Apollo 11. As the 1960s dawned, the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union was in full swing. The Soviet Union had taken an early lead with the successful launch of Sputnik and the historic flight of Yuri Gagarin, the first human in space. But in 1961, U.S. President John F. Kennedy set a bold and audacious goal: to land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth before the decade was out. This statement was not just a challenge to the Soviet Union, it was a vision that would inspire generations. The mission to reach the moon was no longer just about politics or scientific exploration. It became a symbol of human ambition and technological prowess. The Apollo program, launched by NASA in response to Kennedy's challenge, would prove to be one of the most complex and ambitious undertakings in human history. The road to the moon was fraught with challenges, setbacks, and tragedy, but it culminated in one of the most iconic moments of the 20th century: Apollo 11's successful landing on the lunar surface. This chapter will delve into the trials, triumphs, and lasting legacy of the Apollo missions, with a particular focus on the historic first landing on the moon. The vision of Apollo. The idea of landing humans on the moon was, at the time, an almost inconceivable challenge. The technology to do so did not yet exist, and the United States had only recently succeeded in sending its first astronauts into orbit. Yet Kennedy's vision was clear. Space exploration was not only a matter of scientific curiosity but a crucial front in the Cold War. Whoever could dominate space would control the high ground, both literally and symbolically. NASA, which had been formed in 1958, became the driving force behind this goal. The Apollo program was the centerpiece of NASA's efforts. It was a massive undertaking that required unprecedented levels of innovation, collaboration, and financial investment. Over the course of the 1960s, NASA would employ more than 400,000 people, partner with thousands of private companies, and spend billions of dollars to achieve its goal. The program's development included everything from designing the powerful Saturn V rocket, which would carry astronauts to the moon, to developing the lunar module that would allow them to land and return. But before humans could set foot on the moon, NASA had to ensure that its astronauts could survive the journey. Early Apollo missions were designed to test the spacecraft, the life support systems, and the launch capabilities necessary for a moon landing. These missions, although they did not carry humans to the lunar surface, were critical for refining the technology and procedures that would ultimately make Apollo 11 a success. Tragedy and triumph. The Apollo 1 fire. The road to the moon was not without its setbacks. In January 1967, during a routine test for the first crewed Apollo mission, disaster struck. Apollo 1, which was intended to be the program's first crewed flight, was set for a launch rehearsal on the ground when a fire broke out in the command module. The three astronauts aboard, Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee, were trapped inside and tragically lost their lives. The fire exposed critical flaws in the design of the spacecraft and forced NASA to halt the program while it conducted an exhaustive investigation. The Apollo 1 fire was a devastating blow to NASA, both in terms of human loss and public confidence. It also raised serious questions about whether a moon landing was achievable within Kennedy's ambitious timeline. However, the tragedy also spurred a rigorous overhaul of the program's safety protocols and design standards. NASA engineers went back to the drawing board, redesigning the command module and improving safety procedures to ensure that such an incident would not happen again. This period of reflection and rebuilding proved to be critical for the program's ultimate success. The lessons learned from Apollo 1 were applied to future missions, and the astronauts who followed would benefit from the increased safety measures. NASA had to balance the inherent risks of spaceflight with its drive to achieve an unprecedented goal, and the Apollo 1 tragedy underscored just how dangerous this endeavor truly was. Apollo 8, first to the moon. While the ultimate goal of the Apollo program was to land humans on the moon, NASA knew that several preliminary missions were necessary to test the spacecraft and maneuvers required for such a feat. One of the most significant of these precursor missions was Apollo 8, launched in December 1968. Apollo 8 was the first mission to leave Earth's orbit and travel to the moon. Although it did not land on the lunar surface, it achieved several major milestones that paved the way for Apollo 11. For the first time, humans ventured beyond low Earth orbit, entering the gravitational influence of another celestial body. Astronauts Frank Borman, James Lovell, and William Anders orbited the moon 10 times, capturing stunning images of the lunar surface and the distant Earth. One of the most iconic photographs in history, Earthrise, was taken during this mission, showing our blue planet rising above the barren lunar horizon. The image provided a powerful new perspective on our place in the universe and has since become a symbol of environmental and global awareness. Apollo 8 was a resounding success, not only because it demonstrated that humans could travel to the moon and return safely, but also because it gave NASA and the world confidence that a moon landing was within reach. The mission was a bold leap forward, bringing Kennedy's vision closer to reality. Apollo 11, one giant leap for mankind. On July 16, 1969, Apollo 11 lifted off from Kennedy Space Center, carrying astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins on what would become one of the most celebrated missions in human history. 4 days later, on July 20, 1969, the world watched in awe as Neil Armstrong descended the ladder of the lunar module Eagle and became the first human to set foot on the moon. His words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," echoed across the globe. This moment was more than just the culmination of the Apollo program, it was a defining moment in human history. For the first time, humans had left their home planet and traveled to another celestial body. The moon landing was a testament to what humanity could achieve through cooperation, determination, and innovation. Armstrong and Aldrin spent roughly 21 hours on the lunar surface, conducting experiments, collecting samples, and placing the American flag in the Sea of Tranquility. Their work on the moon, though brief, provided invaluable data and samples that would fuel scientific research for decades to come. Meanwhile, Collins orbited the moon in the command module, maintaining contact with Earth and ensuring that the crew could safely return home. The return journey to Earth was equally important. Apollo 11 splashed down safely in the Pacific Ocean on July 24, 1969, and the astronauts were welcomed as heroes. The mission had not only fulfilled Kennedy's promise but had exceeded all expectations, marking the United States as the leader in space exploration and demonstrating the power of human ingenuity. The legacy of Apollo. Apollo 11 was just the beginning. Over the next few years, NASA would conduct 6 more Apollo missions, 5 of which successfully landed on the moon. These missions expanded humanity's knowledge of the lunar surface, tested new technologies, and pushed the boundaries of what was possible. The final Apollo mission, Apollo 17, took place in December 1972, bringing an end to this extraordinary chapter in space exploration. The legacy of the Apollo program is profound and enduring. It demonstrated the heights that humanity could reach when driven by a collective goal, and it opened the door for further exploration of the solar system. The technologies developed during the Apollo era laid the groundwork for future space missions, from robotic exploration of Mars to the International Space Station. But perhaps most importantly, the Apollo program changed the way we see ourselves. The images of Earth from space, tiny, fragile, and alone in the vastness of the cosmos, helped to foster a sense of global unity and environmental awareness. It became clear that our planet is unique and worth protecting, a message that continues to resonate today. The Apollo missions were not just about the moon, they were about the boundless potential of human innovation and the spirit of exploration. They showed us that with the right vision, resources, and determination, we can overcome even the most daunting challenges. As we look forward to new missions like NASA's Artemis program, the legacy of Apollo reminds us that the next giant leap is always just over the horizon. Chapter 3: The Golden Age of Space Innovation. Unmanned probes, space stations, and expanding boundaries. As the dust settled on the lunar surface after the last Apollo mission in 1972, the space race entered a new era. The initial fervor of competing for the moon gave way to a broader, more collaborative approach to exploring the cosmos. This next phase, often referred to as the Golden Age of Space Innovation, saw dramatic advances not just in human spaceflight, but also in the development of unmanned probes and space stations that would extend humanity's reach further into the solar system. It was a time when exploration shifted from being merely about competition to a genuine thirst for knowledge, discovery, and innovation. During this period, unmanned spacecraft became some of the most important tools for exploration. Probes were sent to distant planets, expanding our understanding of the solar system in ways that would have been unimaginable just a decade earlier. At the same time, the advent of space stations allowed humans to live and work in space for extended periods, creating laboratories in orbit that contributed to scientific research and international cooperation. The rise of unmanned probes, venturing beyond the moon. While human space exploration captured the world's attention in the 1960s, the exploration of the solar system's farthest reaches would rely on robotic spacecraft. These unmanned probes would be the first to visit other planets, moons, and even the outer edges of our solar system, gathering data that would reshape our understanding of the universe. One of the earliest and most successful of these missions was NASA's Pioneer program. In 1973, Pioneer 10 became the first spacecraft to travel through the asteroid belt and provide close-up images of Jupiter. Pioneer 10's journey was a landmark achievement, as it not only revealed the mysteries of our largest planetary neighbor but also continued to transmit data from the outer solar system until it finally lost contact in 2003. The data it sent back helped scientists better understand the environment around Jupiter, from its immense radiation belts to the turbulent atmosphere that makes it such a distinctive planet. Following Pioneer's success, the Voyager missions launched in 1977, arguably becoming the most famous and ambitious unmanned missions ever undertaken. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 were tasked with exploring the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, before venturing into interstellar space. The images these probes sent back of planets like Saturn with its awe-inspiring rings, or the icy blue Uranus and Neptune, stunned scientists and the public alike. But perhaps even more impressive is the fact that more than 40 years later, both Voyager spacecraft are still transmitting data as they journey beyond the boundaries of our solar system. Voyager's Golden Record, a time capsule designed to communicate the story of Earth to any potential extraterrestrial civilizations, captured the optimism and curiosity of the era. It contained sounds, music, and images from Earth, a message in a bottle, drifting through the vastness of space. The record symbolizes humanity's desire to not only explore but to communicate and share our knowledge with whatever might exist beyond our known universe. The success of these unmanned missions helped to answer fundamental questions about the nature of the solar system. What these probes lacked in the human touch, they made up for in endurance and range, traveling distances far beyond the reach of human spacecraft. Their contributions to planetary science were immeasurable, providing data that still influences research today. Skylab, the first American space station. While robotic probes were transforming our knowledge of the planets, NASA was also experimenting with how humans could live and work in space for longer periods. This led to the creation of Skylab, the United States' first space station. Launched in 1973, Skylab was an ambitious attempt to build a laboratory in orbit, allowing astronauts to conduct scientific experiments in a microgravity environment. Skylab was constructed from the leftover hardware of the Apollo program, and it represented a shift in focus for NASA, from short-term missions to sustained human presence in space. For the first time, astronauts could live and work in space for weeks at a time. Skylab hosted 3 separate crews between 1973 and 1974, who conducted experiments on everything from solar physics to the effects of weightlessness on the human body. One of Skylab's major contributions was its study of the Sun. Equipped with a solar observatory, Skylab allowed scientists to observe solar flares and other phenomena in unprecedented detail. This data helped researchers understand the Sun's influence on Earth's climate and space weather, paving the way for future missions that would further explore our star. However, Skylab was not without its challenges. Shortly after launch, a critical heat shield was damaged, threatening the station's ability to function. In one of the most dramatic repair missions in space history, astronauts managed to fix the problem during a spacewalk, ensuring Skylab could continue its mission. This episode demonstrated not only the resilience of NASA's astronauts but also the necessity of human adaptability in space exploration. There are some problems that machines cannot solve alone. Although Skylab was only operational for about 2 years, its impact was lasting. It demonstrated the feasibility of long-term human spaceflight and provided valuable data that would inform future space stations, including the International Space Station (ISS). International collaboration, the Apollo-Soyuz mission. The Cold War had been the driving force behind the space race, but by the mid-1970s, a thaw in U.S.-Soviet relations led to one of the most symbolic missions of the era, the Apollo-Soyuz test project. This mission, which took place in July 1975, was the first joint spaceflight between the United States and the Soviet Union. It marked a turning point in the history of space exploration, showing that cooperation between rival nations was possible, even in the depths of the Cold War. For the first time, astronauts from NASA and cosmonauts from the Soviet Space Agency worked together in space. The mission involved docking an American Apollo spacecraft with a Soviet Soyuz capsule, allowing the crews to visit each other's spacecraft, exchange gifts, and conduct joint experiments. The iconic image of the 2 spacecraft docked together, floating peacefully above the Earth, became a powerful symbol of détente and the possibilities of collaboration in space. The Apollo-Soyuz mission laid the groundwork for future international cooperation in space exploration. It demonstrated that even in the midst of geopolitical tension, science and exploration could bring nations together. This spirit of collaboration would become even more important in the decades to come, as space stations like the International Space Station (ISS) would require partnerships between multiple nations. The dawn of the shuttle era. As the 1970s came to a close, NASA was already looking ahead to its next major innovation, the Space Shuttle. Unlike the Apollo missions, which were designed for one-time use, the Space Shuttle was envisioned as a reusable spacecraft that could launch into orbit, deliver cargo or astronauts to space, and then return to Earth, landing like an airplane. The shuttle would become the backbone of NASA's space program for the next 30 years, ushering in a new era of space exploration that prioritized efficiency, flexibility, and the potential for commercial spaceflight. The first shuttle, Columbia, was launched in 1981, kicking off a series of missions that would help build space infrastructure, deploy satellites, and even service the Hubble Space Telescope. The shuttle program represented the evolution of space exploration from short-term missions to a long-term strategy for working in space. It also showcased the growing role of international collaboration, as astronauts from various countries flew on shuttle missions and helped construct the ISS. The shuttle program was a testament to NASA's ability to innovate and adapt. It allowed astronauts to return to space repeatedly, creating new opportunities for scientific research, technological development, and international partnership. It also signaled the beginning of a more pragmatic approach to space exploration, one that would continue to evolve as new technologies emerged. The expanding vision of space exploration. The golden age of space innovation was not just about individual missions or technological achievements, it was about expanding humanity's vision of what space exploration could be. It was a time when the boundaries of space exploration were pushed beyond the moon, towards the outer planets, and into long-term human presence in space. Unmanned probes opened our eyes to the wonders of the solar system, while space stations and shuttles showed that we could live and work in space for extended periods. This era laid the foundation for future exploration, both human and robotic. The success of the Voyager missions demonstrated that robotic spacecraft could travel beyond the limits of our solar system, continuing to send back data long after their intended missions had ended. Meanwhile, space stations like Skylab and the eventual ISS proved that collaboration, not competition, would be the key to future space exploration. As humanity looked ahead to the next frontier, whether Mars, asteroids, or even beyond, the golden age of space innovation showed that exploration is not just about reaching a destination, but about continuously pushing the boundaries of what is possible. It was an era of optimism, curiosity, and ingenuity, one that set the stage for the next giant leaps that would follow in the decades to come. Chapter 4: The Shuttle Era. Space Transportation and the Shuttle's Role in Modern Space Exploration. The dawn of the 1980s marked a pivotal shift in the way humanity approached space exploration. After the remarkable achievements of the Apollo program and the development of Skylab, NASA found itself at a crossroads. The American Space Agency had proven that humans could land on the moon, live and work in space for extended periods, and explore the solar system with robotic probes. However, the cost and complexity of one-off missions like Apollo were becoming unsustainable. NASA needed a more efficient, reusable solution to ensure that space exploration could continue, evolve, and become a permanent part of human life. This need for a cost-effective and versatile spacecraft led to the development of the Space Shuttle, a program that would revolutionize space travel and define NASA's mission for the next 3 decades. Unlike the rockets and capsules of the 1960s and 70s, the shuttle was designed to be reusable, capable of launching into space, returning to Earth, and flying again. This innovation brought space exploration into a new era, one that focused on building infrastructure in space, conducting scientific research, and paving the way for commercial opportunities. The Space Shuttle program was ambitious and filled with both triumph and tragedy. It became a symbol of the new possibilities in space travel, but it also revealed the risks and challenges of maintaining human presence in space. This chapter will explore how the shuttle transformed space exploration, the key missions that defined its legacy, and the lasting impact it left on the future of human spaceflight. The birth of the Space Shuttle program. The origins of the Space Shuttle can be traced back to the late 1960s, when NASA began considering how to make space exploration more sustainable. The Apollo program had been a success in terms of reaching the moon, but each mission required an entirely new set of equipment. Rockets like the Saturn V were incredibly expensive to build and could only be used once. NASA's vision for the future was different. They wanted a spacecraft that could be launched multiple times, reducing costs and increasing flexibility for a wide range of missions. The idea behind the shuttle was groundbreaking. It would consist of 2 solid rocket boosters and an external fuel tank that would be jettisoned after launch, while the orbiter, a spacecraft that looked much like an airplane, would enter space and later glide back to Earth. Upon landing, the orbiter could be refurbished and prepared for the next mission. In theory, this would make spaceflight more routine, much like an airline operates, with multiple flights per year and greater access to space for astronauts, scientists, and cargo. In 1972, just 3 years after the first moon landing, President Richard Nixon announced the approval of the Space Shuttle program. NASA began work on developing this new spacecraft, with the hope that it would usher in an era of frequent, low-cost access to space. It was a monumental engineering challenge and one that would take nearly a decade to complete. The first shuttle flight, Columbia's historic mission. After years of development and testing, the first shuttle, Columbia, was ready for launch. On April 12, 1981, exactly 20 years after Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space, NASA launched STS-1, the maiden flight of the Space Shuttle Columbia. Astronauts John Young and Robert Crippen were aboard, making the first-ever test flight of a reusable spacecraft. The launch of Columbia was a tense moment for NASA. The shuttle had never been flown into space before, and there were concerns about how the thermal protection system, the tiles that protected the orbiter from the intense heat of re-entry, would hold up. However, the mission was a resounding success. Columbia spent 2 days in space, testing various systems and proving that the shuttle could perform as intended. It returned safely to Earth, landing on a runway in California, a sight that thrilled onlookers. This was a dramatic departure from the capsules that had previously splashed down in the ocean, and it demonstrated the shuttle's versatility. Columbia's successful flight opened the door to a new era in space exploration. The shuttle was not just a spacecraft, it was a platform for a wide variety of missions. Over the next several years, NASA would launch dozens of shuttle missions, using the spacecraft to deploy satellites, conduct scientific research, and even build a space station. The shuttle's reusability was key to this era, allowing for frequent missions and reducing the cost per flight, at least in theory. Building a space infrastructure. Satellites, telescopes, and stations. One of the shuttle's primary purposes was to deploy and repair satellites. In the early 1980s, communication satellites were becoming a critical part of global infrastructure, and the shuttle was uniquely positioned to carry them into orbit. The shuttle's cargo bay could hold large payloads, allowing it to transport satellites, telescopes, and other equipment into space. For the first time, space wasn't just a frontier for exploration, it was becoming an essential part of everyday life on Earth. Perhaps the most famous satellite deployed by the shuttle was the Hubble Space Telescope. Launched in 1990 aboard Discovery, Hubble was designed to peer deep into the universe, capturing images of galaxies, stars, and planets with unprecedented clarity. However, shortly after its deployment, NASA discovered that Hubble's primary mirror had a flaw that prevented it from focusing correctly. This was a devastating blow to the program, but it also provided an opportunity to demonstrate the shuttle's unique capabilities. In 1993, the shuttle Endeavour launched a crew of astronauts on a mission to repair Hubble. The astronauts conducted a series of spacewalks, installing new equipment that corrected the mirror's flaw. This was one of the most complex and daring repair missions in space history, and it marked a turning point for Hubble, which went on to become one of the most productive scientific instruments ever created. Hubble's images of distant galaxies and nebulae have expanded our understanding of the universe, revealing details about the cosmos that were previously hidden from view. Beyond satellites, the shuttle was also instrumental in constructing the International Space Station (ISS), a project that began in the 1990s and continues to this day. The ISS represented a new era of international cooperation in space. Unlike earlier space stations which were built and operated by single nations such as the Soviet Union's Mir, the ISS was a joint project involving NASA, Roscosmos, the Russian Space Agency, the European Space Agency, Japan, and Canada. The shuttle played a critical role in assembling the station, transporting modules, equipment, and astronauts into orbit. Over the years, shuttle missions helped transform the ISS from a few small modules into the sprawling laboratory it is today, where astronauts conduct scientific research in fields ranging from biology to physics. The Challenger and Columbia tragedies. Despite the shuttle program's successes, it was not without its tragedies. On January 28, 1986, the shuttle Challenger was lost just 73 seconds after liftoff, killing all 7 astronauts on board, including Krista McAuliffe, a schoolteacher who was set to become the first civilian in space as part of NASA's Teacher in Space program. The accident shocked the world and brought the shuttle program to a standstill. An investigation revealed that an O-ring in one of the solid rocket boosters had failed, allowing hot gases to escape and ultimately causing the explosion. The Challenger disaster highlighted the risks of spaceflight and forced NASA to reassess its safety procedures. It would take nearly 3 years for the shuttle program to resume. NASA implemented a series of changes to improve safety, but the specter of Challenger would loom over the program for the rest of its existence. Unfortunately, tragedy struck again in 2003 when the shuttle Columbia disintegrated upon re-entry, killing all 7 crew members. During launch, a piece of foam insulation had struck the orbiter's wing, damaging its thermal protection system. This damage went unnoticed during the mission, and upon re-entry the heat of the atmosphere caused the shuttle to break apart. Once again, NASA was forced to ground the shuttle fleet, and the future of the program came into question. These tragedies underscored the inherent dangers of space exploration. Despite the shuttle's reusability and technological sophistication, spaceflight remained a perilous endeavor. Each mission carried significant risks, and the loss of life served as a sobering reminder that space exploration was not without its costs. The end of the shuttle era and its legacy. By the early 2000s, it became clear that the shuttle, while revolutionary in many ways, had limitations. The high cost of refurbishment after each flight and the risks associated with human spaceflight led NASA to re-evaluate its approach. In 2011, after 135 missions, NASA retired the shuttle program with the final flight of Atlantis. The shuttle's legacy is a complex one. On the one hand, it provided NASA with a versatile spacecraft that allowed for groundbreaking missions like the repair of the Hubble Space Telescope and the construction of the International Space Station. It also helped expand our understanding of how humans could live and work in space for extended periods. On the other hand, the shuttle never quite lived up to its promise of low-cost, routine access to space. The tragedies of Challenger and Columbia cast long shadows over the program, and in the end, the shuttle was simply too expensive and risky to maintain indefinitely. Yet, the shuttle program paved the way for a new era of space exploration. The experience gained from building the ISS, deploying satellites, and conducting complex missions would inform the development of future spacecraft. More importantly, the shuttle's legacy lives on in the partnerships and technologies it helped create. The ISS, a product of the shuttle era, remains a symbol of international cooperation with astronauts from around the world living and working together in space. As NASA looks to the future with new programs like Artemis, which aims to return humans to the Moon and eventually send astronauts to Mars, the lessons of the shuttle era will continue to shape the path forward. The shuttle may no longer fly, but its impact on space exploration is undeniable. It showed us that space is not just a destination but a place where humanity can build, explore, and thrive. Chapter 5. International Collaboration in Space. The International Space Station and Global Space Initiatives. Space exploration, once defined by the fierce rivalry of the Cold War, has evolved into one of the most extraordinary examples of international cooperation in modern history. The 20th century saw the Soviet Union and the United States locked in a competition to outdo each other in space achievements, from the first satellite to the first manned moon landing. But by the end of the 1970s, as the Cold War began to thaw and space missions became more routine, the idea of nations working together to explore the final frontier gained traction. It was no longer just about winning, it was about expanding human knowledge and the shared ambition to reach beyond Earth's atmosphere. The culmination of this cooperative spirit is the International Space Station (ISS), a marvel of human ingenuity, technology, and diplomacy orbiting 400 kilometers above Earth. The ISS is not merely a space laboratory, it is a living symbol of what humanity can achieve when it works together, transcending political differences and uniting in the common goal of exploration and scientific discovery. This chapter delves into the history of international collaboration in space, the development and construction of the ISS, and the global initiatives that are shaping the future of space exploration. The Apollo-Soyuz Test Project, Bridging the Divide. The seeds of international cooperation in space were sown during the final years of the Cold War. After the Apollo program ended, the United States and the Soviet Union found themselves at a crossroads. Both nations had accomplished incredible feats in space, but the costs, both financial and political, were staggering. At the same time, the geopolitical landscape was shifting, with détente easing some of the tensions between the two superpowers. This new era of cautious diplomacy opened the door for the first major joint space mission, the Apollo-Soyuz Test Project, ASTP. Launched in July 1975, the Apollo-Soyuz mission was a symbolic and practical step toward cooperation between the U.S. and Soviet space programs. It involved docking an American Apollo spacecraft with a Soviet Soyuz capsule in orbit, allowing the two crews to meet, exchange gifts, and conduct joint scientific experiments. The mission was a success, not just because of its technical achievements, but because of the powerful message it sent to the world. that even in the midst of geopolitical rivalry, space could be a neutral ground for collaboration. The Apollo-Soyuz test project was a historic moment, marking the first time that spacecraft from two different nations had docked together in orbit. It also set the stage for future international missions by establishing the foundations for communication and safety protocols between space agencies. More importantly, it demonstrated that space exploration could be a unifying force, transcending borders and politics. The birth of the International Space Station. While the Apollo-Soyuz test project was a remarkable achievement, it was just the beginning. In the years that followed, the idea of building a permanent space station began to gain momentum. The Soviet Union, for its part, had already started working on its own space station program with the launch of Salyut in 1971 and the more advanced Mir in 1986. Mir became the world's first modular space station and operated in low Earth orbit for 15 years, serving as a laboratory for long-term space habitation. It was a pioneering effort, proving that humans could live and work in space for extended periods, conducting scientific research that benefited not only space exploration but also life on Earth. Meanwhile, in the United States, NASA was also exploring the concept of a space station. After the success of the Space Shuttle program, NASA began planning for a large, modular station that could serve as a permanent outpost in space. Originally dubbed Freedom, the U.S. space station project faced numerous delays, budget cuts, and design changes throughout the 1980s and early 1990s. However, by the mid-1990s, an unprecedented opportunity for international collaboration presented itself. Rather than pursuing separate projects, NASA, along with space agencies from Russia, Europe, Japan, and Canada, agreed to combine their efforts to build a single international space station. Thus, the International Space Station (ISS) was born. It was an ambitious project that would involve contributions from 15 different nations, including the United States, Russia, Japan, Canada, and members of the European Space Agency (ESA). Each partner would provide key components for the station, and astronauts from many countries would live and work aboard the ISS, conducting scientific research, testing new technologies, and preparing for future missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. Building the ISS, a collaborative engineering marvel. The construction of the ISS was a feat of engineering and international cooperation on an unprecedented scale. It began with the launch of the first module, Zarya, in 1998. Built by Russia and funded by the United States, Zarya provided the station's initial power and propulsion. This was followed by the launch of the American Unity module, which connected Zarya to the rest of the station. Over the next several years, the ISS grew piece by piece, with modules launched into orbit aboard both American space shuttles and Russian Proton rockets. Each new piece was carefully designed to fit into the overall structure, allowing the station to expand over time. The European Space Agency contributed the Columbus Laboratory, while Japan added the Kibo module, a laboratory with the largest pressurized volume of any ISS module. Canada provided the Canadarm2, a robotic arm that played a crucial role in assembling and maintaining the station. The ISS was not just a collection of hardware, it was a living, breathing laboratory where astronauts could conduct experiments in microgravity. These experiments ranged from studying the effects of long-term space habitation on the human body to testing new materials and technologies that could be used in future space missions. The station also became a platform for Earth observation, with cameras and sensors capturing data on climate change, natural disasters, and other environmental phenomena. The international nature of the ISS was reflected in its crew. Over the years, astronauts and cosmonauts from dozens of countries have lived and worked aboard the station, sharing not only their scientific expertise but also their cultures and experiences. The ISS became a symbol of global cooperation, a place where geopolitical differences were set aside in the name of exploration and discovery. Scientific achievements of the ISS. The International Space Station has been an unparalleled platform for scientific research. Its unique microgravity environment has allowed scientists to conduct experiments that would be impossible on Earth, leading to breakthroughs in fields ranging from medicine to materials science. One of the most significant areas of research aboard the ISS has been the study of how the human body adapts to life in space. Long-term space missions pose numerous challenges to human health, including muscle atrophy, bone loss, and the effects of radiation. By studying these effects in astronauts aboard the ISS, scientists have gained valuable insights into how the body changes in space and how to mitigate these risks for future missions to Mars and beyond. These studies have also led to medical advancements on Earth, such as new treatments for osteoporosis and muscle-wasting diseases. In addition to human health, the ISS has been a platform for studying the behavior of fluids, gases, and materials in microgravity. Experiments conducted aboard the station have led to the development of new materials with improved properties, such as stronger alloys and more efficient combustion processes. These advancements have applications not only in space exploration but also in industries such as aerospace, manufacturing, and energy. The ISS has also contributed to our understanding of the Earth. Equipped with a suite of sensors and cameras, the station has provided a unique vantage point for observing the planet. Astronauts aboard the ISS have monitored natural disasters, such as hurricanes, wildfires, and earthquakes, providing real-time data to help respond to these events. The station has also played a crucial role in studying climate change, tracking changes in the atmosphere, oceans, and polar ice caps. The research conducted on the ISS has had far-reaching implications, not only advancing our knowledge of space but also improving life on Earth. The station has become a symbol of what can be achieved when nations come together to tackle complex challenges and push the boundaries of human knowledge. The future of international cooperation in space. As the ISS approaches the end of its operational life, currently planned for sometime in the 2030s, the question arises, what comes next for international cooperation in space? The success of the ISS has proven that collaborative efforts can lead to extraordinary achievements, and many of the same nations that built the ISS are now looking to the future. One of the most ambitious projects on the horizon is NASA's Artemis program, which aims to return humans to the Moon for the first time since 1972. The Artemis program is a global endeavor, with NASA partnering with the European Space Agency, Japan, Canada, and private companies like SpaceX. These partnerships will be critical to building the Lunar Gateway, a space station that will orbit the Moon and serve as a staging point for missions to the lunar surface. The Gateway will be a key component of the Artemis program, and its development will involve contributions from multiple nations, just like the ISS. Beyond the Moon, the dream of sending humans to Mars continues to inspire space agencies and private companies around the world. While the challenges of a Mars mission are immense, international collaboration will be essential to making it a reality. Just as the ISS demonstrated the power of working together, the journey to Mars will require the expertise, resources, and ingenuity of nations across the globe. Global space initiatives, the expanding frontier. International cooperation in space is not limited to the ISS or the Artemis program. Around the world, new space agencies and initiatives are emerging, contributing to the expanding frontier of space exploration. Nations that once played a minor role in space exploration are now stepping up, launching their own satellites, developing space technologies, and even sending probes to distant planets. China, for example, has rapidly become a major player in space exploration. In 2019, China became the first nation to land a rover on the far side of the Moon with its Chang'e 4 mission. The China National Space Administration (CNSA) is also planning to build its own space station, Tiangong, which will operate in low Earth orbit. Like the ISS, Tiangong will be a hub for scientific research and international cooperation, with plans to host astronauts from other nations. India, too, has made significant strides in space exploration. The Indian Space Research Organisation (ISRO) has launched numerous successful missions, including the Mars Orbiter mission, which made India the first Asian nation to reach Mars. ISRO is also planning future lunar missions and is developing capabilities for human spaceflight. These global initiatives reflect the changing landscape of space exploration. No longer the exclusive domain of a few superpowers, space is becoming a truly international frontier. As new spacefaring nations emerge and collaborate with established space agencies, The possibilities for exploration and discovery continue to grow. Chapter 6. The Rise of Private Space Exploration. How companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin changed the game. For much of the 20th century, space exploration was the domain of government agencies. NASA, the Soviet Space Agency, and other national entities led the charge, pushing the boundaries of what was possible in the vacuum of space. These efforts culminated in remarkable achievements like the Apollo moon landings, the construction of space stations, and robotic missions to the outer planets. However, space exploration was also incredibly expensive, slow-moving, and largely out of reach for private citizens and corporations. The dawn of the 21st century brought a seismic shift in the world of space exploration. Visionary entrepreneurs, fueled by advances in technology and a growing desire to make space accessible to everyone, began entering the arena. Companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and others didn't just want to participate in space exploration, they wanted to revolutionize it. They aimed to bring down costs, improve access, and ultimately enable humanity to become a multi-planetary species. This chapter will explore how the rise of private space companies transformed the space industry, from the development of reusable rockets to plans for colonizing Mars. These companies are not merely building on the work of government space agencies. They are reshaping the landscape, introducing competition, innovation, and a new era of possibilities for humanity's future in space. The dawn of private space exploration. The idea of private companies entering the space race was once the stuff of science fiction. In the mid-20th century, only governments had the resources, technical know-how, and infrastructure to launch rockets into space. The scale of space missions, whether launching satellites, sending astronauts to the moon, or constructing space stations, required vast budgets and massive teams of scientists and engineers. For decades, space exploration seemed like something only superpowers could undertake. But by the 1990s, things began to change. Advances in technology, particularly in computing, materials science, and engineering, made it possible for smaller, private entities to dream of space. The end of the Cold War also brought changes to the aerospace industry, with governments around the world scaling back their space programs and looking to the private sector for new opportunities. It was during this period that a new breed of entrepreneur emerged, driven by the ambition to democratize space travel and exploration. One of the most prominent of these entrepreneurs was Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX. Musk, a Silicon Valley engineer who had already achieved success with companies like PayPal, had long been fascinated by space. In 2002, he founded SpaceX, Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, with the goal of reducing the cost of space travel and eventually sending humans to Mars. Around the same time, Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, also set his sights on space. Bezos, a lifelong fan of science fiction and space travel, created Blue Origin in 2000, with the aim of developing technologies that would make spaceflight more affordable and accessible. His vision was to enable millions of people to live and work in space, and like Musk, he believed that humanity's long-term survival depended on expanding beyond Earth. These companies, along with others like Virgin Galactic and Rocket Lab, represented a new era in space exploration. Unlike NASA or Roscosmos, which were funded by taxpayer dollars and controlled by governments, these private companies were driven by a combination of profit motives, visionary goals, and technological innovation. They weren't just competing with government agencies, they were seeking to transform the very nature of space exploration. SpaceX, revolutionizing space travel. When Elon Musk founded SpaceX, his goal was nothing less than to revolutionize space travel. He recognized early on that the biggest obstacle to space exploration was the cost. Traditional rockets were disposable. After each launch, the rocket's expensive first stage would fall back to Earth and be lost, meaning that a new rocket had to be built for every mission. Musk believed that if rockets could be made reusable, if they could land back on Earth and be flown again like airplanes, it would dramatically lower the cost of spaceflight. In the early years, SpaceX faced significant challenges. Its first rocket, the Falcon 1, experienced several failures before finally achieving orbit in 2008. But Musk was undeterred. The success of Falcon 1 was a turning point for the company, proving that a private company could design, build, and launch a rocket into space. SpaceX's next big breakthrough came with the development of the Falcon 9, a larger, more powerful rocket designed to carry heavier payloads into space. But what truly set the Falcon 9 apart was its reusability. In 2015, after years of development and countless test flights, SpaceX successfully landed the first stage of a Falcon 9 rocket on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. This achievement was revolutionary. For the first time in history, a rocket had launched into space, delivered its payload and returned to Earth for reuse. This breakthrough fundamentally changed the economics of space exploration. By reusing rockets, SpaceX could offer launches at a fraction of the cost of traditional rockets, opening up space to new customers, from commercial satellite operators to government agencies. SpaceX's reusable rockets didn't just lower the cost of space travel, they also sped up the timeline. Missions that once took months or years to prepare could now be planned in weeks, making space exploration more agile and responsive. In the years that followed, SpaceX continued to innovate. The company developed the Dragon spacecraft, designed to carry cargo, and eventually humans, to the International Space Station. In 2020, SpaceX made history again by launching Crew Dragon, the first privately built spacecraft to carry astronauts to the ISS. This marked the first time in nearly a decade that astronauts had launched from U.S. soil, and it cemented SpaceX's role as a leader in human spaceflight. Musk's long-term goal, however, goes beyond Earth orbit. SpaceX is actively working on the development of Starship, a massive spacecraft designed to carry humans to the Moon, Mars, and beyond. Starship, like Falcon 9, is intended to be fully reusable, with the ability to refuel in space and land on other planetary surfaces. Musk's vision is nothing short of ambitious. He wants to build a city on Mars with the ultimate goal of making humanity a multiplanetary species. While the technical and logistical challenges of such a mission are immense, SpaceX's rapid progress suggests that the company could play a major role in the future of human space exploration. Blue Origin, building the infrastructure for space. While SpaceX has captured much of the public's attention with its high-profile launches and ambitious goals, Blue Origin has quietly been working toward a similar vision of making space accessible to all. Founded by Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin takes a longer-term approach to space exploration, focusing on the development of infrastructure that will enable future generations to live and work in space. Blue Origin's motto, Gradatim Ferociter, which means step by step, ferociously, reflects the company's philosophy. Rather than rushing to achieve high-profile milestones, Blue Origin is methodically developing the technologies that will make space travel sustainable in the long run. One of the company's key achievements has been the development of New Shepard, a suborbital rocket designed for space tourism. New Shepard is fully reusable, and like SpaceX's rockets, it is designed to land vertically after each flight. While New Shepard is primarily intended for space tourism, allowing civilians to experience a few minutes of weightlessness and see the curvature of the Earth, it represents a critical step toward Blue Origin's broader vision. Bezos envisions a future where millions of people live and work in space, using the vast resources of the solar system to sustain human civilization. He has spoken about building large space habitats, modeled after the ideas of physicist Gerard Kane O'Neill, where humans could live in self-sustaining colonies in space. To achieve this vision, Blue Origin is developing New Glenn, a heavy-lift rocket capable of carrying large payloads into orbit. New Glenn is designed to compete with SpaceX's Falcon Heavy, with the goal of launching commercial satellites, government missions, and eventually crewed missions to space. Blue Origin is also working on Blue Moon, a lunar lander that could be used for NASA's Artemis program, helping to deliver cargo and astronauts to the Moon. Bezos has consistently emphasized that his vision for space is not about competition with SpaceX or other companies, but about building the infrastructure that will allow future generations to thrive in space. He sees space as a place where humanity can expand, using the resources of asteroids and other planets to alleviate the pressures on Earth. In Bezos's view, space exploration is not just about discovery, it's about survival. The emergence of space tourism and commercial spaceflight. One of the most exciting developments in the rise of private space exploration is the emergence of space tourism. For decades, space travel was the exclusive domain of government astronauts, but companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic are working to change that. The idea of ordinary people traveling to space, once a distant dream, is now becoming a reality. Virgin Galactic, founded by entrepreneur Richard Branson, has focused on suborbital space tourism, offering passengers a brief but exhilarating experience of space. The company's Spaceship Two is designed to carry up to 6 passengers and 2 pilots to an altitude of around 100 kilometers, where they can experience a few minutes of weightlessness before gliding back to Earth. Virgin Galactic conducted its first crewed spaceflight in 2021, with Branson himself among the passengers, marking a major milestone in the commercialization of space travel. Blue Origin's New Shepard has also entered the space tourism market, offering passengers a similar suborbital experience. In 2021, Blue Origin launched its first crewed mission with Bezos himself aboard. These early space tourism flights, while brief, represent the beginning of a new era in which space is no longer the exclusive domain of government agencies or professional astronauts. SpaceX, meanwhile, has set its sights on orbital tourism. In 2021, the company launched Inspiration 4, the first all-civilian mission to orbit the Earth. The mission, which was organized by entrepreneur Jared Isaacman, sent 4 private citizens into orbit aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft for 3 days, marking a significant step forward for commercial spaceflight. These early space tourism missions are just the beginning. As costs continue to fall and technology improves, space tourism could become more accessible to a wider range of people. While the price of a ticket to space is still prohibitively expensive for most, companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin envision a future where space travel is as routine as air travel. This democratization of space has the potential to inspire new generations of explorers, scientists, and entrepreneurs. The impact of private space companies on the industry. The rise of private space companies has had a profound impact on the space industry. For one, it has introduced competition and innovation into a field that was once dominated by government agencies. SpaceX's success with reusable rockets has forced other players in the industry, both public and private, to rethink their approach. Companies like United Launch Alliance and Arianespace have begun developing their own reusable rockets, while NASA has increasingly relied on commercial partners to carry out critical missions, such as transporting astronauts to the ISS. Private companies have also accelerated the pace of space exploration. While government agencies like NASA often face bureaucratic and budgetary constraints, private companies are able to move more quickly, taking risks and pursuing ambitious goals that might be politically or financially unfeasible for governments. This dynamic has led to rapid advances in technology, from reusable rockets to autonomous spacecraft. Perhaps most importantly, private space companies have shifted the narrative around space exploration. It is no longer just about government prestige or scientific discovery. It's about creating new industries, unlocking new opportunities, and ultimately, building a future where humanity can thrive beyond Earth. The dream of space exploration has been expanded, and with it, the possibilities for what we can achieve in the cosmos. Chapter 7: The Artemis Program. NASA's bold vision to return humans to the Moon and beyond. More than 50 years have passed since the last human set foot on the Moon, during the historic Apollo 17 mission in 1972. In the decades since, space exploration has taken many forms, from robotic missions to the far reaches of the solar system to long-term human habitation in low Earth orbit aboard the International Space Station, ISS. However, for all the advancements made since the Apollo era, no human has ventured beyond low Earth orbit since those final lunar landings. Now, in the 21st century, NASA is preparing to return to the Moon, this time with a bold vision to stay. The Artemis program, named after the twin sister of Apollo in Greek mythology, represents NASA's most ambitious plan since the Apollo era. But Artemis is more than just a return to the Moon. It is the first step toward an even greater goal: sending humans to Mars and creating a sustainable presence in space for future generations. This chapter will explore the vision behind the Artemis program, the technologies and partnerships that are driving it, and the significance of returning to the Moon in the context of human space exploration. The vision behind Artemis. A new era of exploration. The Artemis program was born from a growing realization that humanity's future in space requires not just visits, but sustainable exploration. While Apollo was about proving that humans could reach the moon and return safely, Artemis is about going back to the moon to stay. The program is a response to the lessons learned from the Apollo missions, the advancements in technology since the 1970s, and the recognition that the moon could serve as a stepping stone to Mars and beyond. One of the key differences between Apollo and Artemis is that Artemis is designed for sustainability. In the 1960s, the rush to beat the Soviet Union to the moon drove NASA to develop a series of rapid, one-off missions, culminating in the Apollo 11 landing in 1969. These missions, while historic, were temporary. Once the goal was achieved, NASA's focus shifted and human exploration beyond Earth orbit effectively ended. Artemis, however, is not about planting a flag and leaving. The goal is to establish a long-term presence on the moon, laying the groundwork for future exploration. NASA envisions a series of missions that will build up infrastructure on the lunar surface, including a permanent lunar base, known as Artemis Base Camp, that will serve as a hub for research, exploration, and eventually, commercial activity. The moon will become a proving ground for the technologies and strategies needed for Mars exploration, allowing NASA and its international partners to test the limits of human endurance and innovation in a harsh, alien environment. At its core, the Artemis program reflects a renewed sense of purpose for human space exploration. It embodies the belief that humanity must extend its reach beyond Earth, not just to explore new worlds but to survive. The program's long-term vision is intertwined with the idea that space is the next frontier for human civilization, where we can expand, innovate, and protect ourselves from potential existential threats, such as resource depletion or planetary disasters. By returning to the moon, NASA hopes to lay the foundation for a future where space is not just a destination for astronauts, but a home for humanity. The path to the moon. Artemis 1, 2, and 3. The Artemis program is designed to unfold in phases, with each mission building on the success of the previous ones. The first major milestone will be Artemis I, an uncrewed mission that will serve as a critical test of NASA's new Space Launch System, SLS, rocket and the Orion spacecraft. SLS, one of the most powerful rockets ever built, is designed to carry astronauts and cargo to the moon and beyond. Orion, meanwhile, is NASA's next-generation crew vehicle, capable of sustaining astronauts on deep space missions. Artemis I will be the first integrated flight of SLS and Orion, sending the spacecraft on a multi-week journey around the moon before returning to Earth. This mission is intended to demonstrate the performance of the spacecraft and rocket, as well as test key systems such as heat shields and navigation technology. It will pave the way for future crewed missions by proving that the hardware is ready for the challenge of deep space exploration. Following Artemis I, Artemis II will be the first crewed mission of the program, scheduled to launch a few years later. This mission will take astronauts around the moon in a mission reminiscent of Apollo 8, but with vastly superior technology and capabilities. Artemis II will test the life support systems aboard Orion, as well as the ability to conduct longer-duration human spaceflights in deep space. Though it will not involve a landing on the moon, Artemis II will mark the first time humans have ventured beyond low Earth orbit in over 5 decades. The true centerpiece of the program will be Artemis III, the mission that will return humans to the surface of the moon. Scheduled to take place by the mid-2020s, Artemis III will land astronauts at the moon's South Pole, a region that has never been explored by humans. The South Pole is of particular interest to scientists because it is believed to contain vast deposits of water ice, a critical resource for future lunar missions. Water could be used not only for drinking but also to produce oxygen and hydrogen for life support and rocket fuel, making it a key component of any sustainable lunar base. The Artemis III mission will also have a historic significance beyond the scientific goals. NASA has committed to landing the first woman and the next man on the moon as part of this mission, ensuring that the legacy of human space exploration reflects the diversity of those who contribute to its success. This symbolic milestone, coupled with the technical and scientific achievements of Artemis, will reaffirm NASA's leadership in space exploration while inspiring new generations to look to the stars. Technological innovations, building for the future. One of the most exciting aspects of the Artemis program is the new technologies that will be developed and tested along the way. Unlike the Apollo program, which relied on traditional rockets and capsules, Artemis is designed to leverage the latest advancements in spaceflight technology, from reusable spacecraft to lunar habitats. These innovations will not only make lunar exploration more sustainable but also pave the way for missions to Mars and beyond. At the heart of Artemis is the Space Launch System, SLS, a behemoth of a rocket that stands taller than the Statue of Liberty. SLS is the most powerful rocket NASA has built since the Saturn V, but it incorporates modern materials and designs that allow it to carry heavier payloads into deep space. SLS will be able to launch both crewed and cargo missions, making it a critical piece of the Artemis infrastructure. In tandem with SLS is the Orion spacecraft, a deep space crew vehicle designed to support human missions beyond Earth orbit. Orion represents a leap forward in terms of safety and capability. Its life support systems are designed for long-duration missions, and its heat shield is built to withstand the extreme temperatures of re-entering Earth's atmosphere from deep space. Unlike the Apollo command module, which was cramped and limited in terms of its habitable space, Orion offers a more comfortable environment for astronauts, which will be critical for future missions to Mars that could last months or even years. Another major innovation is the development of a lunar gateway, a small space station that will orbit the Moon and serve as a staging point for missions to the lunar surface. The gateway will be a crucial hub for the Artemis program, allowing astronauts to live and work in lunar orbit for extended periods. It will also provide a platform for conducting research and testing the technologies needed for deep space exploration. The gateway will be built through international collaboration with contributions from NASA's partners, including the European Space Agency (ESA), the Canadian Space Agency (CSA), and Japan's JAXA. For Artemis Base Camp, NASA is working on advanced habitats and life support systems that will allow astronauts to live on the lunar surface for weeks or months at a time. These habitats will be modular, allowing for expansion as more resources and equipment are sent to the Moon. Key to the base camp's sustainability will be the ability to harvest lunar resources, such as water ice, and convert them into useful materials like oxygen, fuel, and even building materials through a process known as in situ resource utilization, ISRU. ISRU is seen as a critical technology for future exploration, as it will reduce the need to transport everything from Earth, making space missions more cost-effective and sustainable. Finally, the development of Starship, the massive spacecraft being built by SpaceX, plays a key role in Artemis. NASA has selected SpaceX to develop the lunar lander for the Artemis program, based on Starship's design. This lander will carry astronauts from lunar orbit to the Moon's surface and back, demonstrating the potential for reusable spacecraft in deep space missions. Starship's ability to transport large payloads to the Moon will also be critical in building up the infrastructure needed for Artemis Base Camp. The Moon as a stepping stone to Mars. While the Moon is the immediate focus of the Artemis program, it is not the ultimate goal. NASA views the Moon as a proving ground for the technologies and strategies that will one day enable humans to travel to Mars. Many of the challenges faced by astronauts on the Moon, such as radiation exposure, long-duration isolation, and limited resources, are similar to those that will be encountered on Mars. By testing solutions to these challenges on the Moon, NASA hopes to be better prepared for the far more difficult journey to the Red Planet. Mars has long captivated the imagination of scientists and explorers alike. It is the most Earth-like planet in the solar system, with a day similar in length to Earth's, polar ice caps, and evidence of liquid water in the past. However, Mars is also a harsh environment, with a thin atmosphere, freezing temperatures, and high levels of radiation. Any mission to Mars will require careful planning, advanced technology, and a deep understanding of how to support human life in such a hostile environment. Artemis will help pave the way for Mars exploration by demonstrating that humans can live and work on another world for extended periods. The experience gained from building habitats on the Moon, extracting resources, and surviving in extreme conditions will be invaluable as NASA and its partners prepare for the next giant leap: sending humans to Mars. NASA's timeline for Mars exploration is still uncertain, but Artemis is a crucial first step toward that goal. The program represents a commitment to expanding humanity's reach beyond Earth, to new worlds where future generations might one day live and thrive. A new chapter in space exploration. The Artemis program is more than just a return to the moon. It represents a new chapter in space exploration, one that embraces sustainability, international collaboration, and the long-term future of humanity in space. It is a bold vision that reflects the lessons of the past while looking ahead to the challenges and opportunities of the future. By returning to the moon, NASA is not simply revisiting old achievements. It is laying the groundwork for a future where space is an integral part of human civilization. As Artemis unfolds over the coming decades, it will redefine what is possible in space exploration. The moon, once seen as a distant and unattainable goal, will become a place where humans live, work, and explore. The technologies and partnerships developed through Artemis will not only enable missions to Mars, but they will also open up new possibilities for scientific research, commercial ventures, and even space tourism. The return to the moon is just the beginning. Artemis represents humanity's enduring quest to explore the unknown, to push the boundaries of what we can achieve, and to ensure that our species has a future beyond the confines of Earth. In doing so, we will not only discover more about the moon and Mars, but we will also learn more about ourselves, about our capacity for innovation, resilience, and collaboration in the face of the greatest challenges. Chapter 8: Mars Missions and Beyond. Exploring Mars and the Future of Deep Space Exploration. For centuries, Mars has captivated humanity's imagination. Its reddish glow, visible in the night sky, made it the subject of speculation and wonder long before the first telescopes turned their gaze toward it. Ancient astronomers named Mars after the god of war, and throughout history, the planet has been the setting for myths, stories, and eventually scientific inquiry. But it wasn't until the dawn of the space age that humanity began to seriously consider the possibility of exploring Mars, and perhaps even settling there one day. The dream of sending humans to Mars has long been seen as the next great leap in space exploration. Unlike the moon, Mars is a distant world with its own unique challenges: a thin atmosphere, freezing temperatures, and harsh radiation. Yet, Mars also holds tantalizing possibilities. It is the most Earth-like planet in our solar system, with polar ice caps, seasons, and evidence of past liquid water. Scientists believe that studying Mars could unlock answers to fundamental questions about the origins of life, both on Earth and elsewhere in the cosmos. While humans have yet to set foot on Mars, robotic missions have been exploring the planet for decades, providing us with invaluable data and insights. These robotic explorers have paved the way for future crewed missions, but the ultimate goal, sending humans to Mars, remains one of the greatest challenges of our time. This chapter will explore the history of Mars exploration, the current missions that are preparing for human landings, and the long-term vision for deep space exploration beyond Mars. The robotic pioneers of Mars. The exploration of Mars began not with astronauts but with robots. In the mid-20th century, the idea of sending humans to Mars was still far beyond our technological capabilities. However, robotic spacecraft offered a way to study the planet from afar, gathering data that would help scientists understand Mars's climate, geology, and atmosphere. These early missions laid the groundwork for future exploration and transformed Mars from a mysterious, distant world into a place of scientific interest. The first successful missions to Mars came from NASA's Mariner program in the 1960s. Mariner 4, launched in 1964, became the first spacecraft to fly by Mars, sending back the first close-up images of another planet. These grainy black and white photographs revealed a barren, cratered landscape, dashing hopes of finding Martian civilizations but sparking new scientific questions about the planet's history. Mariner 9, launched in 1971, was the first spacecraft to orbit Mars, providing detailed images of the planet's surface and revealing its massive volcanoes, deep canyons, and evidence of past water flow. The real breakthrough in Mars exploration came with the arrival of Viking 1 and Viking 2 in 1976. These twin spacecraft not only orbited Mars but also landed on its surface, becoming the first missions to successfully send landers to another planet. The Viking missions were a triumph of engineering and science, capturing the first color photographs of the Martian surface and conducting experiments to search for signs of life. Although the Viking landers did not find definitive evidence of life, they provided a wealth of data about the planet's geology and climate, much of which is still being studied today. In the decades that followed, Mars continued to be a target for robotic exploration. NASA's Pathfinder mission in 1997 marked the first successful deployment of a rover on Mars, as Sojourner, a small wheeled robot, explored the Martian terrain, demonstrating that rovers could be used for more extensive surface exploration. This success led to the development of more advanced rovers, such as Spirit and Opportunity, which landed on Mars in 2004. These rovers far exceeded their planned lifespans, with Opportunity continuing to operate for nearly 15 years. They made groundbreaking discoveries, including evidence that liquid water had once existed on Mars, a key indicator that the planet may have been habitable in the past. Perhaps the most iconic of these robotic missions was the arrival of Curiosity in 2012. This rover, the size of a small car, was equipped with a sophisticated suite of scientific instruments designed to study Mars's environment and search for signs of life. Curiosity confirmed that Mars had once had conditions suitable for life, with evidence of ancient lakes, rivers, and potentially habitable environments. Its ongoing mission has provided us with a detailed understanding of Mars's surface and atmosphere, paving the way for future human exploration. In 2021, NASA's Perseverance rover joined the ranks of Mars explorers, landing in Jezero crater, a site thought to have once been a river delta. Perseverance's mission is focused on searching for signs of ancient life and collecting samples that could one day be returned to Earth for further study. Alongside Perseverance is Ingenuity, a small helicopter that became the first aircraft to fly on another planet, demonstrating the potential for aerial exploration of Mars. These robotic missions have transformed our understanding of Mars, revealing a planet that was once more Earth-like than previously thought. They have also tested technologies that will be crucial for human missions, such as autonomous navigation, landing systems, and resource identification. But despite these remarkable achievements, the question remains: when will humans join these robotic pioneers on Mars? The challenges of sending humans to Mars. While robotic missions have provided a wealth of information about Mars, sending humans to the Red Planet presents a vastly different set of challenges. Mars is far more distant than the Moon, with an average travel time of 6 to 9 months each way, depending on the alignment of the planets. This means that any human mission to Mars would require astronauts to spend years away from Earth, with no possibility of immediate rescue in case of an emergency. The psychological, physical, and technical challenges of such a mission are immense. One of the greatest obstacles to sending humans to Mars is the issue of radiation exposure. Unlike Earth, which is protected by its magnetic field and thick atmosphere, Mars has little protection from cosmic rays and solar radiation. Astronauts traveling to and living on Mars would be exposed to significantly higher levels of radiation, which could increase the risk of cancer and other health problems. Developing effective radiation shielding for spacecraft and habitats will be crucial to the success of any crewed mission to Mars. Another major challenge is life support. While robotic missions can be sent with limited resources, humans require food, water, and oxygen for long-duration missions. Transporting all the necessary supplies from Earth would be impractical, so future Mars missions will need to rely on in-situ resource utilization (ISRU), the ability to extract and use local resources. One of the most promising resources on Mars is water ice, which has been detected at the poles and beneath the surface in certain regions. Water can be used not only for drinking but also to produce oxygen and hydrogen for breathing and fuel. Developing the technology to extract and utilize these resources will be key to sustaining human life on Mars. Psychological factors also pose a significant challenge. Astronauts on a mission to Mars would be isolated from Earth for years, facing extreme isolation, confinement, and the constant awareness of the hostile environment outside their spacecraft or habitat. NASA and other space agencies are studying the psychological effects of long-duration space missions, using the ISS as a testbed. However, a mission to Mars would take this isolation to a new level. Astronauts would be completely cut off from real-time communication with Earth, with a time delay of up to 20 minutes for signals to travel between the two planets. Landing humans on Mars presents its own set of technical challenges. Mars has a thin atmosphere, which makes it difficult to slow down a spacecraft as it approaches the surface. Unlike Earth, where parachutes can be used to slow a descending spacecraft, Mars's atmosphere requires a combination of parachutes, rockets, and innovative landing techniques to safely land large payloads. NASA has tested some of these techniques with its robotic missions, but landing humans, and the large habitats and equipment they will need, will require further advancements. Despite these challenges, space agencies and private companies are making progress toward human missions to Mars. NASA's Artemis program, which aims to return humans to the Moon, is seen as a stepping stone to Mars. The technologies and strategies developed for lunar exploration, such as lunar habitats, ISRU, and long-duration spaceflight, will be critical for future Mars missions. Private companies in the Mars race. While NASA has long led the charge in Mars exploration, private companies are increasingly playing a pivotal role in the race to the Red Planet. Chief among these companies is SpaceX, led by Elon Musk. Musk has been outspoken about his ambition to colonize Mars, viewing it as essential for the survival of humanity in the event of a catastrophe on Earth. SpaceX's Starship, currently in development, is designed to be a fully reusable spacecraft capable of carrying large numbers of people and cargo to Mars and other destinations in the solar system. Musk envisions a future where thousands of starships are built, transporting people and supplies to Mars on a regular basis, with the ultimate goal of establishing a self-sustaining colony. While this vision remains aspirational, SpaceX has made significant strides in rocket technology, becoming the first private company to launch humans into orbit and deliver cargo to the ISS. Starship is still in the testing phase, but if successful, it could dramatically reduce the cost of space travel and make Mars missions more feasible. In addition to SpaceX, other companies are also looking to contribute to Mars exploration. Blue Origin, led by Jeff Bezos, is developing technologies that could be used for future Mars missions, including heavy-lift rockets and space habitats. Bezos has spoken about the need for humanity to expand beyond Earth, though Blue Origin's focus has so far been on developing infrastructure in low Earth orbit and on the Moon. The involvement of private companies in Mars exploration represents a significant shift in how space exploration is conducted. While government agencies like NASA still lead the way in terms of scientific research and mission planning, private companies bring innovation, funding, and a willingness to take risks that could accelerate the timeline for human missions to Mars. The collaboration between NASA and companies like SpaceX and programs like Artemis suggests that the future of space exploration will be a partnership between public and private entities. The long-term vision, Mars and beyond. The exploration of Mars is just one step in humanity's broader journey into the solar system. While Mars represents the next great frontier, space agencies and private companies are already looking beyond Mars to the possibility of exploring the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, asteroids, and even interstellar travel. One of the most exciting prospects for future exploration is Europa, a moon of Jupiter that is believed to have a subsurface ocean beneath its icy crust. Scientists think that Europa's ocean could harbor life, making it one of the most intriguing targets for future robotic or human missions. NASA's Europa Clipper mission, set to launch in the 2020s, will study the Moon's surface and investigate the potential for life in its ocean. Similarly, Enceladus, a moon of Saturn, has also captured the attention of scientists due to the presence of water plumes that erupt from its surface. Like Europa, Enceladus could have a subsurface ocean, and future missions may investigate whether it could support life. In the more distant future, humanity may turn its attention to asteroids as potential sources of resources. Some asteroids are rich in metals like platinum and gold, and mining these resources could provide the raw materials needed for future space infrastructure. Asteroids could also serve as stepping stones for deep space missions, providing fuel, water, and other essential resources. Looking even further ahead, interstellar travel remains a distant but tantalizing possibility. While the technology needed to reach other stars is still far beyond our capabilities, projects like Breakthrough Starshot are exploring the feasibility of sending tiny, light-powered spacecraft to nearby star systems. These missions, while still theoretical, represent humanity's ultimate ambition: to explore not just our solar system but the galaxy and beyond. Mars as humanity's second home. As we stand on the brink of a new era of space exploration, Mars looms large in our collective imagination. It represents both a challenge and an opportunity, a place where humanity can test its limits, expand its horizons, and perhaps one day establish a new home. The journey to Mars will not be easy, but the rewards, scientific, technological, and existential, are immense. Mars is more than just a destination. It is a symbol of humanity's desire to explore the unknown, to push beyond the boundaries of what we know, and to secure a future for ourselves beyond Earth. Whether it is NASA's Artemis missions, private companies like SpaceX, or future collaborations between nations and industries, the path to Mars is a journey of discovery that will shape the next century of human history. The first footsteps on Mars will mark the beginning of a new chapter in human exploration, one that will take us further than ever before. As we venture to Mars and beyond, we are not just exploring new worlds, we are expanding the very definition of what it means to be human. Chapter 9: Space Technologies of Tomorrow. Emerging technologies shaping the future of space exploration. The 21st century has already witnessed incredible advancements in space exploration, from reusable rockets to robotic missions that have expanded our knowledge of distant planets. But as humanity looks toward the future with ambitions of returning to the Moon, reaching Mars, and even venturing into the depths of our solar system, it's clear that the next era of space exploration will rely heavily on a new generation of emerging technologies. Space exploration has always been driven by innovation. The Apollo program, for example, was a triumph of engineering, solving problems that had never been addressed before. How do you protect humans in the vacuum of space? How do you safely land on the Moon's surface? The same spirit of innovation that carried astronauts to the Moon is now fueling the development of groundbreaking technologies that will make future missions safer, more efficient, and more ambitious than ever before. This chapter will explore the cutting-edge technologies that are shaping the future of space exploration, from propulsion systems that could drastically shorten the travel time to Mars to artificial intelligence, AI, systems that could help humans and robots work together on distant planets. These technologies represent the next giant leap in space exploration, promising to unlock new possibilities as humanity reaches further into the cosmos. Advanced propulsion systems. Faster, farther, and more efficient. One of the most significant technological hurdles in space exploration has always been propulsion. Traditional chemical rockets, like the ones that powered the Apollo missions, are limited by the amount of fuel they can carry and the speeds they can reach. This makes long-distance space travel, such as a mission to Mars or beyond, a slow and challenging endeavor. For humanity to explore deep space more effectively, we need faster, more efficient ways to travel. One of the most promising advancements in this area is electric propulsion, particularly ion propulsion systems. Unlike chemical rockets, which burn fuel to generate thrust, ion engines use electric fields to accelerate ions, charged particles, to incredibly high speeds. This method is far more fuel efficient, allowing spacecraft to travel longer distances with less propellant. While ion propulsion doesn't provide the same initial thrust as chemical rockets, its efficiency makes it ideal for long-duration missions, such as sending robotic probes to the outer planets or even propelling crewed missions to Mars. NASA's Dawn mission, which explored the asteroid belt and the dwarf planet Ceres, was powered by an ion engine, demonstrating the viability of this technology for deep space missions. As propulsion technology continues to improve, ion propulsion could become a key part of future human exploration efforts, enabling faster travel times and more ambitious missions. However, even ion propulsion may not be enough to meet the demands of interplanetary travel. For truly long-distance missions, such as journeys to the outer planets or one day even other star systems, nuclear propulsion is emerging as a critical technology. There are two primary types of nuclear propulsion being explored: nuclear thermal propulsion (NTP) and nuclear electric propulsion (NEP). NTP systems work by heating a propellant, such as hydrogen, with a nuclear reactor and then expelling it through a nozzle to create thrust. This method offers much higher efficiency than chemical rockets and could reduce the travel time to Mars from 9 months to just a few months. This shorter travel time would be crucial in reducing the risks of long-term space travel, such as radiation exposure and the psychological effects of isolation. NEP systems, on the other hand, use a nuclear reactor to generate electricity, which then powers an ion propulsion system. This approach could allow spacecraft to travel even further, though it's best suited for missions to more distant destinations like the outer planets or the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. While both nuclear propulsion technologies are still in the experimental stage, they hold enormous potential for the future of human space exploration. NASA and other space agencies are actively investing in research and development in this area, with the goal of testing nuclear propulsion systems on future missions to Mars and beyond. Artificial intelligence and robotics. Expanding human reach. As humanity ventures deeper into space, the role of artificial intelligence, AI, and robotics will become increasingly important. The distances involved in interplanetary travel mean that astronauts will face significant communication delays when interacting with mission control on Earth. On Mars, for example, there can be up to a 20-minute delay in communication between Earth and astronauts. This means that astronauts will need to rely more on autonomous systems and robotic assistance to handle emergencies, make real-time decisions, and carry out complex tasks. AI is already playing a significant role in current space missions. NASA's Perseverance rover, which landed on Mars in 2021, uses advanced AI systems to navigate the Martian terrain autonomously, avoiding obstacles and selecting scientifically interesting sites for exploration. This capability is crucial because direct control from Earth is impractical due to the communication delay. In the future, AI systems will become even more sophisticated, helping astronauts navigate new environments, operate equipment, and analyze data in real time. One of the most exciting applications of AI in space exploration is its potential to assist with resource identification and utilization. On the Moon and Mars, AI systems could help identify and harvest resources like water ice, which can be converted into fuel, oxygen, and drinking water. This will be critical for establishing long-term bases on other planets, as astronauts will need to be self-sufficient and make use of local resources to survive. Robotics will also play a key role in future missions. Robotic systems can perform tasks that would be too dangerous or difficult for humans, such as constructing habitats in extreme environments, maintaining equipment, or exploring hazardous terrain. Robots like NASA's Robonaut and ESA's Justin are being developed to work alongside astronauts, acting as assistants for tasks that require precision and endurance. In addition to robotic helpers, fully autonomous robotic missions will continue to explore the most distant and dangerous regions of space. These robots can venture into environments that are inhospitable to humans, such as the surface of Venus or the frozen moons of the outer planets. Robotic missions will continue to expand our understanding of the solar system, laying the groundwork for future human exploration. One particularly promising development in robotics is swarm robotics, where multiple robots work together as a team. This concept could be applied to future missions to explore the surfaces of other planets or moons. A swarm of small, mobile robots could cover a large area quickly, collecting data, analyzing the terrain, and sharing information with each other to adapt to their surroundings. This approach would be especially useful for exploring environments like the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, where the surface may be too dangerous or unstable for a single rover. AI and robotics won't just help humans survive and explore in space, they will expand our reach, allowing us to venture into places and conduct missions that would otherwise be impossible. Habitat technology, living and thriving in space. One of the most critical challenges of long-term space exploration is creating habitats where humans can live and work for extended periods. Whether it's on the Moon, Mars, or in deep space, astronauts will need reliable, sustainable habitats that can protect them from radiation, extreme temperatures and the vacuum of space. Developing these habitats will be essential for the success of missions like Artemis and for the eventual colonization of other planets. One promising solution is the development of inflatable habitats, which can be compactly stored during launch and then expanded once they reach their destination. These habitats, made from durable materials like Kevlar and other advanced fabrics, offer significant advantages over traditional metal structures. They are lighter and easier to transport, and their flexibility allows for more spacious interiors. NASA has already tested an inflatable habitat prototype, known as the Bigelow Expandable Activity Module (BEAM), aboard the International Space Station. BEAM has been successfully operating in space since 2016, demonstrating that inflatable habitats could be a viable option for future missions. 4 missions to the Moon or Mars, where astronauts will be exposed to high levels of cosmic radiation. Innovative solutions for radiation shielding are also being developed. One possibility is using regolith, the dust and rock found on the surfaces of the Moon and Mars, as a natural shield. By covering habitats with a layer of regolith, astronauts could be protected from harmful radiation. Researchers are also exploring the use of self-healing materials that can repair themselves if damaged by micrometeoroids or other space debris. Another critical aspect of space habitats is life support systems. Traditional life support systems rely on transporting resources like water and oxygen from Earth, but for long-duration missions this is not practical. Instead, researchers are developing closed-loop life support systems that can recycle resources. For example, water recycling systems can purify and reuse wastewater, while advanced carbon dioxide scrubbers can convert exhaled carbon dioxide back into breathable oxygen. In-situ resource utilization (ISRU) will also play a crucial role in creating sustainable habitats. As mentioned in previous chapters, ISRU involves using local resources, such as water ice on the Moon or Mars, to produce the materials needed for survival. NASA is already testing technologies that can extract oxygen from lunar regolith, and future missions will refine these techniques to support long-term habitation. Looking even further ahead, researchers are exploring the possibility of building habitats using 3D printing. On Earth, 3D printing is already being used to create complex structures out of concrete and other materials. In space, 3D printing could be used to build habitats directly from local materials, such as lunar or Martian soil. This approach would dramatically reduce the need to transport construction materials from Earth, making it more feasible to build large, permanent settlements on other planets. Sustainable energy solutions, powering the future of space exploration. Sustainable energy will be essential for long-term space missions, especially as humanity ventures further from Earth. Traditional power sources, like batteries and solar panels, have limitations when it comes to deep space missions or habitats on the Moon and Mars. New energy solutions will be required to power habitats, rovers, and spacecraft for extended periods. Nuclear power is one of the most promising solutions for providing reliable energy in space. Nuclear power systems such as nuclear reactors and radioisotope thermoelectric generators, RTGs, can provide continuous power, regardless of location or environmental conditions. NASA has already used RTGs to power missions like the Voyager spacecraft and the Curiosity rover, and it is developing new nuclear power systems for future lunar and Mars missions. For the Moon and Mars, where sunlight is limited during certain periods, solar power will still play a crucial role. However, solar power technology is evolving to become more efficient. Flexible solar panels and solar concentrators could provide more energy while taking up less space, making them ideal for space habitats and rovers. In addition to solar and nuclear power, researchers are exploring the potential of wireless energy transmission, the ability to transmit energy over long distances without physical connections. This technology could be used to beam power from a central energy station to rovers or spacecraft, eliminating the need for cables and enabling greater flexibility in mission planning. As humanity moves toward establishing permanent outposts on the Moon and Mars, these energy solutions will be critical for providing the power needed to support life, exploration, and scientific research. Space exploration beyond the solar system. While much of the focus of current space exploration is on the Moon, Mars, and the outer planets, scientists are already thinking about what lies beyond our solar system. The dream of interstellar travel, journeys to other star systems and their potentially habitable planets, has long been a staple of science fiction, but recent technological advancements are bringing this dream closer to reality. One of the most promising concepts for interstellar exploration is light sail propulsion. Light sails are large, reflective surfaces that are propelled by the pressure of photons from the sun or other light sources. These sails can reach incredibly high speeds, potentially allowing spacecraft to travel to nearby star systems within a few decades. The Breakthrough Starshot initiative, funded by billionaire Yuri Milner, aims to send tiny, lightweight spacecraft equipped with light sails to the nearest star system, Alpha Centauri. These spacecraft, powered by powerful laser beams from Earth, could reach up to 20% of the speed of light, allowing them to reach Alpha Centauri in just over 20 years. Another potential technology for interstellar travel is fusion propulsion. Fusion, the process that powers the sun, could provide a nearly limitless source of energy for spacecraft. Fusion propulsion systems would use nuclear fusion reactions to generate thrust, allowing spacecraft to travel at much higher speeds than traditional propulsion systems. While fusion propulsion is still in the experimental stage, it holds great promise for enabling missions beyond our solar system. While interstellar travel remains a distant goal, the technologies being developed today for propulsion, energy, and life support are laying the foundation for future missions to the stars. As humanity continues to push the boundaries of space exploration, the dream of visiting other star systems is no longer confined to the realm of fantasy. It is becoming a possibility that future generations may one day realize. The next frontier, transforming space exploration. The technologies emerging today will shape the future of space exploration for decades to come. From advanced propulsion systems that could drastically shorten travel times to Mars, to AI systems that will assist astronauts in deep space missions, to sustainable habitats that will allow humans to live on other planets, the innovations of tomorrow are pushing the boundaries of what we can achieve in space. But space exploration is not just about reaching new destinations, it's about transforming our relationship with space itself. The technologies we develop for space exploration will have profound impacts on life here on Earth, from advancements in energy and resource management to new materials and medical technologies. Space is no longer just a frontier for exploration. It is a laboratory for innovation that will drive progress in every aspect of human life. As humanity prepares to take its next giant leap, the technologies of tomorrow are bringing us closer to a future where space is not just a destination, but a place where we live, work, and thrive. The next era of space exploration promises to be one of incredible discovery and achievement, as we continue to push the boundaries of what is possible and expand our reach into the cosmos. Chapter 10: The Future of Deep Space Exploration. Pushing Boundaries, Humanity's Next Giant Leaps. Humanity stands on the brink of an extraordinary era in space exploration. As we continue to push beyond the boundaries of low Earth orbit, the future holds unparalleled opportunities and profound challenges that will shape not only our understanding of the cosmos but also our survival as a species. From lunar bases and Mars colonies to missions aimed at uncovering the mysteries of the outer planets and their moons, the 21st century promises to be defined by a new wave of exploration. But what comes next? What does the future of deep space exploration look like? This chapter will explore the vision for humanity's future in space. We'll delve into the plans to establish human outposts on the Moon and Mars, the potential for mining asteroids and other celestial bodies, and the quest to unlock the secrets of the outer planets. We'll also examine the philosophical and existential implications of venturing beyond our home planet and how space exploration may ultimately reshape human civilization. With each new mission, we edge closer to answering some of the biggest questions in science. Are we alone in the universe? What is our place in the cosmos? And, perhaps most importantly, can humanity survive in the vast, unforgiving reaches of space? Lunar outposts, humanity's first home beyond Earth. The Moon has long captured the imagination of humanity. For millennia, it has been a symbol of mystery and wonder, always just out of reach. The Apollo program gave us a brief glimpse of what it would be like to walk on its surface, but those missions were short-term visits. In the future, however, the Moon is set to become the first stepping stone in humanity's long-term presence beyond Earth. NASA's Artemis program aims to establish a sustainable human presence on the Moon by the 2030s. Unlike the Apollo missions, Artemis is focused not on short visits but on building the infrastructure needed for long-term exploration and habitation. One of the key goals is the construction of Artemis Base Camp, a permanent outpost located at the lunar South Pole, where water ice has been detected. This base will be critical for supporting future missions, both to the Moon and beyond. The lunar South Pole offers several advantages for long-term habitation. The presence of water ice means that astronauts could potentially extract water for drinking and convert it into oxygen for breathing and hydrogen for fuel. This would make the base more self-sufficient and reduce the need for expensive resupply missions from Earth. Additionally, the region near the South Pole experiences prolonged periods of sunlight, which would provide a reliable source of energy through solar power. Building a lunar outpost will require a combination of cutting-edge technology, international collaboration, and innovative thinking. In situ resource utilization (ISRU), the process of using materials found on the Moon to build structures and produce essential resources, will be critical. Instead of transporting all building materials from Earth, astronauts will use the lunar regolith, the Moon's soil, to create habitats, tools, and other essential items. NASA and private companies are already experimenting with 3D printing technology that can use lunar soil to create structures, reducing the cost and complexity of building a lunar base. Once established, Artemis Base Camp will serve as a hub for scientific research, testing new technologies, and preparing for future missions to Mars. The Moon's proximity to Earth makes it an ideal training ground for the challenges of living on another world. Astronauts will study the long-term effects of low gravity on the human body, test life support systems, and experiment with growing food in space. All of these lessons will be invaluable as humanity prepares for the next major milestone, sending humans to Mars. Colonizing Mars, humanity's second home. Mars, often referred to as humanity's second home, is the most Earth-like planet in the solar system. Its relatively mild temperatures, the presence of frozen water, and its day-night cycle similar to Earth's make it the most likely candidate for long-term human habitation. However, colonizing Mars presents a monumental challenge. While the Moon is just a few days away from Earth, Mars is much farther, with a travel time of 6 to 9 months, depending on the planetary alignment. Moreover, Mars's atmosphere is thin and unable to protect its surface from harmful radiation, making it a harsh environment for human life. Despite these challenges, the idea of building a self-sustaining colony on Mars has captured the imagination of scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs alike. Companies like SpaceX, under the leadership of Elon Musk, are leading the charge in developing the technologies needed to make a Mars colony a reality. SpaceX's Starship spacecraft, currently in development, is designed to carry large numbers of people and cargo to Mars, with the ultimate goal of building a city on the planet. A Mars colony would need to be largely self-sufficient, as resupply missions from Earth would be infrequent and expensive. This means that colonists would need to produce their own food, water, and oxygen, and create sustainable energy sources. One of the most promising methods for achieving this is terraforming, the process of altering a planet's environment to make it more habitable. While large-scale terraforming of Mars is likely centuries away, smaller-scale efforts, such as creating domed habitats or using underground caves for protection from radiation, could be implemented in the near future. Mars's water ice, located in polar ice caps and beneath the surface, is a key resource that could sustain a colony. Water can be used for drinking, growing crops, and producing oxygen and hydrogen. Additionally, scientists are developing technologies to harvest carbon dioxide from Mars's atmosphere and convert it into oxygen, further reducing the reliance on Earth for life support systems. Living on Mars will also require new forms of social organization and governance. Unlike the Moon, where missions will likely be short-term or semi-permanent, a Mars colony would be designed to last for generations. This raises important questions about how such a colony would be governed, how resources would be distributed, and how colonists would interact with Earth. As humanity moves toward becoming a multiplanetary species, these issues will need to be addressed, along with the psychological and cultural impacts of living so far from home. In the long term, Mars could serve as a springboard for further exploration of the solar system. Once a self-sustaining colony is established, Mars could become a launching point for missions to the asteroid belt, Jupiter's moons, and beyond. The vision of Mars as humanity's second home is not just about survival. It's about expanding the boundaries of human civilization and creating a future where humans live on multiple worlds. Mining the asteroids, the new space economy. As humanity looks beyond Earth for resources, asteroids represent a virtually untapped treasure trove of minerals and materials. While space mining may sound like science fiction, it is quickly becoming a reality, with both governments and private companies investing in the technology needed to mine asteroids for valuable resources. Asteroids are rich in metals such as iron, nickel, and platinum, as well as water and other volatiles that could be used to support space exploration. Mining asteroids could provide the raw materials needed for building space habitats, constructing spacecraft, and even fueling future missions to Mars and beyond. By harvesting resources directly from space, humanity could reduce its dependence on Earth and create a thriving space-based economy. One of the most exciting prospects of asteroid mining is the potential to extract rare earth metals, elements that are essential for modern technologies like smartphones, electric vehicles, and renewable energy systems. These metals are relatively scarce on Earth, but asteroids contain them in abundance. Companies like Planetary Resources and Deep Space Industries are already exploring ways to extract and process these materials in space. Asteroid mining also holds the potential to revolutionize space travel by providing a steady supply of fuel for spacecraft. Water, which can be extracted from asteroids, can be broken down into hydrogen and oxygen, key components of rocket fuel. By establishing refueling stations in space, spacecraft could travel farther and more efficiently, reducing the need to carry large amounts of fuel from Earth. This could open up new possibilities for exploration, including missions to the outer planets and beyond. However, space mining also raises important legal and ethical questions. Who owns the resources extracted from asteroids? How will mining activities be regulated to prevent conflicts between nations or companies? As the space economy grows, the need for an international legal framework to govern the extraction and use of space resources will become increasingly urgent. Exploring the outer planets, unlocking the mysteries of the solar system. While the Moon and Mars represent the next immediate goals for human exploration, the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, hold some of the greatest mysteries of the solar system. These gas giants and their moons offer a wealth of scientific opportunities, from studying the origins of the solar system to exploring the potential for life on other worlds. Of particular interest are the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, such as Europa, Ganymede, Enceladus, and Titan. These moons are believed to contain subsurface oceans beneath their icy crusts, making them some of the most promising candidates for finding extraterrestrial life in the solar system. Missions like NASA's Europa Clipper and ESA's JUICE, Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, are set to explore these worlds in the coming decade, searching for signs of life and studying their geophysical processes. Europa, in particular, has captured the imagination of scientists. Beneath its thick layer of ice lies a vast ocean, potentially containing more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. This ocean, heated by tidal forces from Jupiter's immense gravity, could harbor the conditions necessary for life. Future missions to Europa may include landers or even submarines designed to penetrate the ice and explore the ocean below. Similarly, Saturn's moon Enceladus has shown evidence of water plumes erupting from its surface, suggesting the presence of a subsurface ocean. These plumes contain organic molecules, further fueling speculation that Enceladus could be home to microbial life. Exploring these icy moons could provide answers to one of the most profound questions in science. Are we alone in the universe? The gas giants themselves also offer intriguing scientific opportunities. Studying the atmospheres of Jupiter and Saturn could help scientists understand the processes that shaped the early solar system and provide insights into the formation of planetary systems around other stars. Uranus and Neptune, the ice giants, remain some of the least explored planets in the solar system, and future missions could unlock the secrets of their unique atmospheres and mysterious magnetic fields. While human exploration of the outer planets may still be decades away, robotic missions will continue to push the boundaries of our understanding, paving the way for future crewed missions. As we explore these distant worlds, we are not only learning about the solar system's history, we are also gaining insights that could inform the search for habitable planets beyond our solar system. The philosophical and existential implications of deep space exploration. As we look toward the future of deep space exploration, we must also consider the broader philosophical and existential questions that arise when humanity ventures beyond its home planet. Space exploration has always been about more than science and technology. It is a quest to understand our place in the universe. The search for life beyond Earth, whether on Mars, Europa, or distant exoplanets, has the potential to reshape our understanding of biology, evolution, and the uniqueness of life on Earth. Discovering microbial life, or even complex organisms, on another world would fundamentally alter our view of the cosmos. It would suggest that life is not a rare accident, but a common outcome of the laws of nature, potentially existing on countless other worlds across the galaxy. On a more existential level, deep space exploration forces us to confront the fragility of human civilization. Earth, for all its beauty and diversity, is vulnerable to a range of existential threats, from asteroid impacts to climate change. Expanding humanity's presence into space offers a way to safeguard our species from these dangers. By establishing colonies on the Moon, Mars, and beyond, we can create a multi-planetary civilization that is more resilient to catastrophic events. Space exploration also challenges us to think about the future of human identity and culture. As humans venture further into the cosmos, what will it mean to being human? How will our societies change as we adapt to life on other planets? Will we develop new forms of governance, new cultural norms, or even new languages? The answers to these questions will emerge as space exploration becomes an integral part of human history. Ultimately, the future of deep space exploration is about more than technology. It's about our collective aspirations as a species. It's about pushing the boundaries of what we know, exploring the unknown, and ensuring that the story of humanity continues for generations to come. A new age of exploration. The future of deep space exploration promises to be one of the most exciting and transformative periods in human history. From establishing colonies on the Moon and Mars to exploring the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, we are on the verge of unlocking the secrets of the solar system, and perhaps even the universe. As we push further into space, we are not just exploring distant worlds, we are expanding the very boundaries of human civilization. The challenges are immense, but so are the rewards. The next century of space exploration will not only deepen our understanding of the cosmos but will also reshape the way we live, work, and think about our place in the universe. The journey is just beginning and the possibilities are limitless. Conclusion: the final frontier and humanity's future. As humanity stands at the edge of the 21st century, space exploration is no longer a distant dream limited to a few select astronauts or the domain of superpowers competing for dominance. Instead, it is becoming an integral part of the human story, a global endeavor that involves governments, private companies, and even individual citizens pushing the boundaries of what is possible. The quest to explore the final frontier has grown beyond the simple desire to leave Earth's gravity behind. Today, space exploration is about survival, knowledge, and the future of our species. It is a quest not only to answer fundamental questions about our place in the cosmos but also to ensure that humanity thrives beyond the cradle of our home planet. The journey to the Moon, Mars, and beyond is no longer just a technical challenge. It is the ultimate test of our ability to collaborate, innovate, and adapt to the unknown. Throughout this book, we have explored the incredible history of space exploration, from the first tentative steps of the Apollo missions to the bold ambitions of the Artemis program, the rise of private space companies, and the technological breakthroughs that are reshaping the future of space travel. Each chapter has shown us how far we have come and how much further we have yet to go. But perhaps the most important lesson of all is that space exploration is not just about science and engineering. It is about humanity's enduring spirit of curiosity, ambition, and determination. The new space age, from competition to collaboration. When we look back at the history of space exploration, it is clear that the early years were defined by competition. The Cold War drove both the United States and the Soviet Union to achieve spectacular feats in space, from launching the first satellite to landing humans on the moon. This rivalry accelerated technological advancements, but it also limited the potential for collaboration between nations. Space was a battleground in a larger geopolitical conflict, and each victory was seen as a triumph of one nation over another. However, as the Cold War ended and new players entered the field, space exploration evolved into a more collaborative enterprise. The construction of the International Space Station (ISS), which involved partnerships between NASA, Roscosmos, the European Space Agency (ESA), Japan and Canada, marked a turning point. The ISS became a symbol of what humanity can achieve when nations work together, setting aside political differences in pursuit of a common goal. For over 2 decades, astronauts from around the world have lived and worked together aboard the ISS, conducting scientific research that benefits all of humanity. This spirit of collaboration is now extending to new frontiers. The Artemis program, which aims to return humans to the moon, is a global effort involving NASA and space agencies from Europe, Canada, and Japan. The Lunar Gateway, a space station that will orbit the moon and serve as a staging point for missions to the lunar surface, is being built through international cooperation. Even private companies such as SpaceX are playing a vital role in these missions, marking a new era where public and private sectors collaborate to push the boundaries of exploration. As we look to the future, it is clear that international collaboration will be essential for the success of deep space exploration. The challenges of sending humans to Mars, exploring the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and establishing permanent habitats on other planets are too great for any single nation or company to tackle alone. Just as the ISS has demonstrated the power of global teamwork, future missions will require even greater cooperation, with nations pooling their resources, expertise, and knowledge to achieve the next giant leaps for humanity. The ethical dimensions of space exploration. As we venture further into space, we must also confront the ethical questions that come with exploring new worlds. The exploration of the Moon, Mars, asteroids, and other celestial bodies raises important questions about the preservation of these environments, the ownership of space resources, and humanity's responsibilities as we extend our reach beyond Earth. One of the key ethical concerns is the preservation of extraterrestrial environments. Mars, for example, is a planet of great scientific interest because it may hold clues about the potential for life beyond Earth. The discovery of water on Mars and the evidence that it once had a more Earth-like climate suggest that Mars may have been habitable in the past. As we prepare to send humans to Mars, we must be careful not to contaminate the planet with Earth-based microbes that could compromise future scientific investigations. This concern has led to the development of planetary protection protocols, which aim to prevent biological contamination of other worlds. However, as human missions to Mars become more likely, balancing exploration with the need to preserve these environments will become even more complex. Another ethical consideration is the question of ownership and resource exploitation in space. As private companies develop the capability to mine asteroids and extract resources from the Moon and Mars, we must ask, who owns these resources? How will they be distributed? And what impact will space mining have on the environment of these celestial bodies? The Outer Space Treaty of 1967 established that space is the province of all mankind and that no nation can claim sovereignty over celestial bodies. However, as commercial space activities increase, the need for a more comprehensive legal framework to govern resource extraction and ownership in space is becoming increasingly urgent. Space exploration also raises broader philosophical questions about humanity's role in the universe. Are we destined to become a multiplanetary species, spreading across the cosmos as we have spread across the Earth? Or should we focus on preserving and protecting our home planet before we venture into the unknown? These questions touch on fundamental issues of identity, responsibility, and survival, and they will become even more pressing as we continue to explore the final frontier: humanity's long-term future in space. Looking ahead, it is clear that humanity's future in space is not just about exploration, it is about survival. Earth, while currently the only known place in the universe that supports life, is vulnerable to a range of existential threats. From climate change to asteroid impacts, the long-term survival of our species may depend on our ability to establish a presence beyond Earth. This is the driving force behind the vision of becoming a multi-planetary species, with human colonies on the Moon, Mars, and potentially even the moons of the outer planets. Mars is the most immediate goal for human colonization, but it is just the beginning. In the coming decades, we may see the development of self-sustaining habitats on Mars, where humans live, work, and build new societies. These colonies will serve as a blueprint for future settlements on other planets and moons. As we learn how to live off the land on Mars, using local resources to build shelters, grow food, and generate energy, we will be preparing for even more ambitious missions to explore the outer reaches of the solar system. Beyond Mars, the icy moons of Europa, Enceladus, and Titan hold the potential for discovering extraterrestrial life and expanding our understanding of the universe. These moons, with their subsurface oceans, offer intriguing possibilities for both scientific research and human exploration. If we can establish colonies on Mars, it is not far-fetched to imagine future missions venturing to these distant worlds. The ultimate goal, however, is to develop the technologies and capabilities needed for interstellar exploration. While this may still be centuries away, the dream of traveling to other star systems and discovering habitable planets is no longer confined to science fiction. Projects like Breakthrough Starshot, which aims to send tiny spacecraft to the nearest star system, Alpha Centauri, are laying the groundwork for future missions that could one day take humans beyond our solar system. The journey to the stars will be the greatest challenge humanity has ever faced, but it is a challenge that speaks to the very core of who we are: explorers, innovators, and dreamers. The transformative power of space exploration. Space exploration has always been about more than just reaching new destinations. It is about transforming the way we see ourselves in the universe. The Apollo missions, for example, not only brought humanity to the moon but also gave us a new perspective on our own planet. The iconic image of Earth, seen from space, helped spark the environmental movement and reminded us of the fragility and interconnectedness of life on Earth. In the same way, future missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond will transform our understanding of what it means to be human. As we explore new worlds, we will be forced to rethink our place in the cosmos, our relationship with the environment, and our responsibilities to future generations. Space exploration has the potential to unite humanity in a shared vision of discovery, pushing us to collaborate across borders and work together to overcome the challenges we face. Moreover, the technologies developed for space exploration will continue to have profound impacts on life here on Earth. From advancements in medicine and materials science to new energy solutions and environmental monitoring, space exploration is driving innovation that benefits all of humanity. The research conducted on the International Space Station has already led to breakthroughs in fields as diverse as cancer treatment, climate science, and robotics. As we venture further into space, the spin-off technologies that emerge will continue to improve our lives on Earth. The final frontier, a journey without end. As we conclude this exploration of the history, present, and future of space exploration, it is clear that the journey is far from over. In fact, it has only just begun. Each mission, each technological breakthrough, and each new discovery brings us one step closer to a future where humanity is no longer confined to Earth but is thriving across multiple worlds. The final frontier is not just a physical place. It is a state of mind, a drive to push beyond the limits of what we know and to explore the unknown. It is the same spirit that drove our ancestors to cross oceans and explore new continents, and it is the spirit that will carry us to the stars. As we stand on the cusp of this new era, one thing is certain: the future of space exploration will be defined by the boldness of our vision, the strength of our collaboration, and the power of human innovation. The final frontier awaits, and the story of humanity's journey into space is still being written. The stars, as they always have, beckon us forward.